Greetings, friends. Lord Crom here, and I don't like Final Fantasy VII. Yes, greetings, friends. Lord Crom here, and this is the beginning of a series I would like to call Semi-Professional Rants. The series where I go off on either positive or negative tangents depending on the topic. Came up with this series a while back. I was just going to wear a button-up shirt, regular jeans. I don't know, you guys can't see anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, I probably grabbed your attention with that intro, didn't I? So, here's what prompted this thought. I was on Amazon looking for a new Final Fantasy hoodie because I don't know if you've seen it in any of my videos, but the hoodie I currently have is a Song of Storms hoodie. It depicts the Song of Storms from Ocarina of Time and I think Majora's Mask? I don't know. I haven't played enough Majora's Mask to know. Anyway, it depicts the Song of Storms, it says make it rain, you know, typical joke, hearty heart heart, but it's starting to fade. I've had it for over a year now, almost 2 years I think. So I decided, you know what, it's about time I get a new hoodie. And, I mean, it's freaking summertime. You shouldn't need a hoodie, but we live in Oregon, it's been cloudy. You might be able to tell by the weird lighting. It's gray outside. So I went on Amazon looking for a Final Fantasy hoodie. However, I was very disappointed to find that there were only Final Fantasy VII hoodies. Now, believe me, I know I'm gonna get a lot of slack for this, but I don't like Final Fantasy VII. I mean, okay, it's a good game, I understand why there's so many fanboys of it, but to me, it's just, I don't know, sorry, let me gather my thoughts here. Final Fantasy VII is okay. It's not as good as everyone says it is. It's okay. I don't mind it. I don't dislike it as much as I dislike Final Fantasy XIII, which I know is the popular opinion, but honestly, I'm playing the game just because a few people told me to, but I just don't like it. I will still play it though, just to give it the benefit of the doubt, but still. 7, here's why I don't like it. First of all, the translation, I mean, I completely understand the era it was made in. It was made in 1997. I mean, this was a huge turning point in the Final Fantasy series. This was the first time they went from 2D sprites to 3D polygons, which I completely understand what the hype's all about. And not to mention One Winged Angel was, I think, the first vocal song, or the first live vocal song they've ever done a recording of, something like that. I know that there's a huge deal about that. However, there's plenty wrong with the game. And now I know that the fanboys are going to say, oh my god, it's the greatest game ever! What are you saying, man? You're not a true fan. Well, here's the thing. I have played every main Final Fantasy series installment except for 11 and 12. So, I mean, I'm not counting the spin-offs. I'm not counting the extra Final Fantasy VII games, except for Crisis Core. I played Crisis Core, and I love that even more than the main game. But I'm not counting 10-2, I'm not counting any of the 13 anthology games, and I wouldn't count After Years either. I've played that, but I've never beaten it. But it's, I don't know, there's so many better ones out there. Like, why restrict yourself to liking just one? I mean, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, although I will admit I've stopped after a while. It just, I don't know, I guess you could say I lost interest, something like that. It's an okay game, I'll admit. I'll still play it to completion. I'm not going to judge a game without fully playing it, even though I am judging it now. But I was so frustrated when I was looking on Amazon and I only found Final Fantasy VII hoodies. I mean, okay, there's some Final Fantasy XV hoodies, I can let that slide because I love Final Fantasy XV, but still, my two favorites are 6 and 9, which I know it's impossible to try to pick a favorite out of such a fantastic series, but that's just the truth. I love 6 and 9. Even better, or even more than Final Fantasy XV, to be honest. Okay, so let me kind of discuss the stories of the game. So 7, it's definitely unique. They took a very, what's the word? They took a very controversial approach to the story, especially within the beginning. I think it's because they established the ESRB ratings because of Mortal Kombat back in those days, and so they decided, hey, we're allowed to push this to the limits now, let's see what we can do. So they threw in as much as they could right from the start. Like, you know, Barrett's saying words you've never heard in games like that before. you know, we've got prostitution, Cloud's cross-dressing, we've got a gay rape scene, or orgy, I suppose. It's not really rape, but I don't know, whatever. That aside, you've got all this crazy controversial stuff, and then on top of that, you're facing a corrupt government. Which makes sense. I do appreciate that part. I've always been a fan of, you know, the people rising to defeat the high powers of whatever. But I don't know, it's just there's so much more of it that could have been better. It's way overhyped. The story, you know, it's good. It's still pretty decent. The writing's pretty good. The translation, not so much. Visuals, I don't care much for those in games, but I will admit Final Fantasy VII does look pretty good. I mean, especially the CG cutscenes, for those days, pretty darn awesome. 8 and 9 are still better in my opinion, but like I said, visuals don't really matter to me in games. Music's good. Uematsu still did a fantastic job with the game's soundtrack. There's some songs I'm not quite a big fan of, but they're still good. But here's the thing. 6 and 9 take what Final Fantasy VII has done. Well, I mean, I should say this about 9, because 6 was obviously before 7. But Final Fantasy IX took everything that was good about 7, added what was good about the games before that, and made what could be considered a masterpiece. And I'm exaggerating, of course. Almost no game's perfect. Except Persona 5. Shh, I didn't say that. But here's why I love 6 and 9 more than 7. So Final Fantasy VI, Kefka Palazzo. Probably one of my favorite villains of all time. I think the only villain I've met in a game to counter that is Arden Azunia. I won't say his real last name for fear of spoilers for anyone who hasn't beaten the game yet. I'd be surprised if you've been playing Final Fantasy XV and you haven't beaten it by now, since the game's been out for, what, about 7 months or so? I don't know. I can't map right now, because I'm on a tangent. But Final Fantasy VI is just... Kefka is such an amazing character. He's just absolutely insane. And I think they explained that it had to do something with the Magitech or being so close to it, it just kind of made him go crazy. Not to mention that, but he's also a freaking clown. He... he is literally Final Fantasy's Joker. That's literally what he is. He's a clown, he's obsessed with death, he doesn't care who dies. If they're in his way, he's gonna kill them and enjoy it on the way. And, I mean, I know that Sephiroth is... his story is a little more in-depth about, you know, the whole Cetra deal, Genova, his T-cells or whatever they're called. Crisis Core explains it well. And I will admit, I do love Crisis Core. I honestly love it more than the actual Final Fantasy VII. But, I don't know, it's just... You see, here's the difference between Sephiroth and Kefka. Kefka actually succeeded in destroying the world. And Arden did the same. Arden is essentially Kefka these days, and I love him for that. Sephiroth, he was thrown down a cliff with the head of Genova. He disappeared for a while, came back, killed the leader of Shinra, and impaled a giant snake on a pike, something like that. Summoned a giant meteor to destroy the world, which was then promptly destroyed by Holy and I believe the Lifestream. Like I said, I've never actually beaten the original Final Fantasy VII. All my knowledge of this comes from Advent Children or Crisis Core, all that stuff. So Sephiroth didn't succeed in destroying the world. I will admit his story is more interesting than Kefka's. That's one thing I'd give to Final Fantasy VII. They did give quite a good backstory to Sephiroth as to why he became a villain, but still, I mean, if he got that powerful to where he could destroy the solar system in one move, you'd think he'd succeed in destroying the world. Like, Kefka didn't need to go ahead and summon Supernova and destroy planets one by one. No, he shifted a couple statues, he lifted a continent from the ground, and then shifted the statues, I think. It's been a while since I got to that part of the game. And then he destroyed the world. And then he goes ahead and just zaps down places with his Ray of Judgment or whatever. And I guess Porky from Mother 3 stole the idea. Anyway, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. So, all I gotta say is Final Fantasy VI's villain still better than 7's. And then Final Fantasy IX. here's the thing. Here's my story behind Final Fantasy IX. So, I got the game when I was 14 years old. We had a PS1 at the time, so I was like, ooh, yes, I'm totally gonna get Final Fantasy IX, because it would have been my first 3D Final Fantasy. And at the time, I wanted Final Fantasy VII super bad because it was pretty rare, but it was super expensive on Amazon at the time. It might still be. Either way, got Final Fantasy IX, loved it, played the hell out of it. Got to Disc 4 to realize I was too underleveled for the final battles. And that's when I quit. The PS1 broke. Ended up letting a friend borrow the game. He never returned it. I'm never going to bother him about it again, though, because I have like 3 different versions of the game by now. And here's the thing. This is why I'm saying this. I know Necron is the main villain, but I still don't fully know Kefka's story. I fully don't know Kuja's story. All I know is that he's quite an interesting fellow. I probably like him almost as much as Kefka. He's charismatic. He's not as obviously crazy as Kefka. He is pretty crazy, but he does well at hiding it, I think. And I don't know. He's pretty smart in the way he does things. I think even Zidane goes back to save him or something. I don't know. Like I said, I've never actually beaten Final Fantasy IX. I'm currently on Disc 2 on my playthrough, because I started over after a while. So I'll have to see. I'll talk more about that once I actually beat the game. And I'll discuss more about Final Fantasy VII after I beat that game to give a full opinion, a full review. But in essence, the whole reason I went on this rant is because, I don't know, I'm just disappointed that they don't have more merch for Final Fantasy games other than 7. I mean, there's some for 15, but still, I don't know. I wish more of the other games got more attention. So, here's the thing. I grabbed your attention intentionally by saying I didn't like Final Fantasy VII. I do like the game, I just think it could have been way better. So, what do you think? I mean, any hate, any praise, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. If any of you say something that's rather thought-provoking, I will likely address it in my next video. So, anyway, this has been Semi-Professional Rants and Reviews, I guess. I don't know what the official name will be. I'll be editing this for a while, but I don't know. I will see you guys next time.